Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Perversion. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I'm speaking with an amazing woman named Samantha Ruth, and I think she has a little companion hanging out with her today, Dallas. Sam has had many titles in her life, such as Transformational Psychologist. Is that right? Speaker and best-selling author, but her world shattered into a million pieces when she unexpectedly lost her husband. Instead of giving up, she turned her pain into her power and decided to help others do the same by guiding them toward their true selves and allowing them to embrace their differences. Her mission? To change the way the world views both grief and mental health so people can openly speak about whatever issues they have and get the help they not only need, but deserve without fear of judgment, labels, and repercussions. Welcome, Sam. I am so excited to talk to you because what you teach is exactly like what I dream about.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I loved watching that intro and all that you're doing as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited to kind of dive into what you do now and all of the goodness that you're bringing. Because it's so much aligned with my views and the community that I'm building here. But before we do that, I'd like to kind of give a nice little foundation for everybody listening on, who you are, a little bit about your past, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, I am a Midwestern girl from Michigan living in Colorado. I'm trying to get on the screen here. I moved to Colorado to marry my husband, who then unexpectedly passed away. And Dallas isn't feeling well today. But in the depths of my grief, when my other dog, Sassy, was grieving, we made the decision to get Dallas. And it was the beginning of healing for us, all of us. And seeing my other dog be okay allowed me to be able to start to take care of myself. And so I'm a psychologist who has a lot of experience, and then world and life crashed and none of it mattered and none of it helped me. And so I became very passionate about letting others know, because there was a lot of pressure as a psychologist for me to just get back to work and be the person I was. And that wasn't happening. And so I'm passionate about letting other people know that it's okay to heal your own way, no matter what that looks like. And no matter what the rest of the world says, because listening and doing it their way makes it worse and lasts longer, and it's just more intense. So that's who I am and how I got here.
I love it. Absolutely. Through your journey and all of the, ups and downs and roundabouts that you've been through, what would you say has been your greatest challenge?
Losing Jim, obviously. I had moved across the country to marry him. I had given, left my friends, family, given up a very successful practice, and I didn't know what to do next. So it wasn't just losing him. I lost the life that we had planned, and I had given up my previous life. So I truly was stuck. I didn't have any interest in seeing or hearing about other people's problems. And so I didn't know where I was going to go. And I ended up taking a year off and working with Jack Canfield. And simply because I was lost and stuck, and he inspired me, and his books lifted me up. And most people go there for professional reasons, and I didn't. I had no idea why I was there, and that's very unfamiliar for me, the planner. It's the best thing I ever did. So
that's awesome. Very, very cool. He's great.
he's amazing, and the community, for me, it was just who I connected with, and going from being in so much pain to meeting people who were not comparing me to the person I was before. They were meeting me as I was in this moment and accepting me exactly where I was, and letting me know that even though I didn't think I would get through it, I would get through it.
Yeah, definitely. How long has he been in business? I feel like
Oh
he's
my
been around
God.
forever.
I tease that his marketing and his advertising isn't the best, because I truly have used his books with my clients for decades. And I didn't know he had training programs and worked with people individually. I probably would have done it years ago, but I got it when I needed it. And it was difficult for me to go against what the people who loved me the most thought was best.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't trust myself. I was not okay, and I knew that. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't just the world expecting certain things. It was other people who really do know and love me, and feeling inclined to do one thing while they were saying another, and really, really learning that we all have an intuition. And I had not only been ignoring mine, I had been dismissing it and telling it was wrong all this time. And so as I started to listen, things started to happen quickly. And the biggest being, I learned that I know me best. I know what's right. And I don't question it now. And when others question it, I have no resistance. It doesn't make me question or have any change of plan. So it really, my challenge was finding me and finding out what was next. And along the way, I learned that I had known that person all along. I was just ignoring her.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you're saying that everybody's journey looks different in the healing process. I think that that's so important for individuals to really hear and then also understand, because, you know, many times we're viewing other people's lives through the lens of social media or through the lens of just hearsay of, you know, here and there. And sometimes it seems as if people may be catapulting from, you know, grief stricken to happiness, and not really seeing all the nitty gritty that kind of happens in between those two things, because, you know, days are long, but years are short. So, you know, sometimes you turn around and it's like the next year, you're like, how the hell did we go from January to December already? So, you know, time does fly by fast. But what I'd really like to hear from you is just your personal experience, as far as, you know, you gave us the one step where you kind of took a year off and you clung on to Canfield for a second or a while, however long that was. But what would you say was like the stepping into just getting the ball rolling again besides that? Like, what was the 1, 2, 3 that you personally took that maybe somebody listening might appreciate and might resonate with?
Yeah, and it is different for everyone. But for me, I am the girl who was always going, planning, accomplishing. You know, I was that type A, and I needed to slow down. And I knew that the things that I used to enjoy at that point caused me intense anxiety. And I've had anxiety my whole life. So it peaking forced me, excuse me, to say I have to take care of me. And it doesn't matter that I have this obligation or this thing that others want me to be at. It's not good for me. And so I had to become comfortable with disappointing others and letting it look whatever it looked like to others and taking care of me. And so I slowed down, and for me, it was nature. Anything and everything outdoors was soothing. If people are really struggling right now, happy or joy can seem too far away. And so anything that decreases pain or can bring you any type of tranquility, going to the water, those were the things that were getting me through. And I struggled because I'm thinking like, what am I accomplishing here? This looks unproductive, but it was getting me through the day. It was getting me through the night. I was finger painting at 3 a.m. But it served a major purpose. And I didn't know I would end up using art with clients to heal. You don't know those things. So you have to become comfortable doing those things that feel right, that actually feel right, and let go of the world judging around, because sitting in the dirt really is where I slowed down and had some ahas. And that wouldn't have happened if I went at the world's pace.
Definitely. What's your viewpoint on creativity? I'm hearing this more and more and more. So tell me your viewpoint on that. Because I don't use any in my coaching, zero, but I'm hearing it's coming up a lot.
I think I think people healing really do let it out in creative ways. I write a letter to Jim every day. Still, that's how it started. I didn't know, and again, all the pieces align, that through Jack Canfield's community, I would meet my publisher and end up writing for others. I was just writing to get through the day, to get it out, to heal. And a lot of my clients and a lot of people do find some sort of release in art or writing music or some sort of creative outlet. You can kind of distract your mind from the pain and get lost in a project. So if it's not who someone is, by all means, you don't have to. But I do think that many people end up recognizing a creative side they weren't even in touch with.
Yeah, definitely. Tell me more about writing to your husband.
I talking to him, right? Telling him everything, being so intimately connected. I still wanted him to know all the stories, and I know he's always with me. And it's that tug between he's here, but I can't hug him. So I still wanted him to know, whether it was this sucks and I hate life without you, or guess what happened today. And it just becomes, for me, very therapeutic and part of my ritual. And my dog even knows, like at night, we have his ashes, we sit with them, we have my journal. And if it's later, if I'm a little bit off schedule, she'll be like nudging his ashes and saying, it's really, so for me, again, it wasn't for any other purpose than it made me still feel connected to him. It made me be able to wind down a little bit and try to lay down, which, sleep is difficult for a lot of people dealing. So I didn't know it would lead to anything. And I think that's something that people can get comfortable with. If you're knitting for no reason, but it's getting you through the day, have at it. You don't need to know why.
Yeah. As far as sleep goes, that is something, whether it's because of, something similar to your story or not, but sleep is an issue with a lot of individuals. Do you have any thoughts on how, journaling is a great one, but do you have any insight on that as far as people being able to wind down and get a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep?
I know technology is everywhere, and a lot of people aren't comfortable being away from it, but really truly having your phone in another room and just separating, or even giving yourself the deadlines. I do not look at my phone before 7 a.m. no matter what time I get. And I usually get up around 5. So giving yourself windows where the goal is to become tranquil, feel calmer, whether that's reading, writing, doing a puzzle, it's different for everyone, but the goal being, I want to get to a calmer place. And it might not work, but it certainly can't hurt.
Yeah. I'm definitely a big component of that, as far as what you're doing now isn't working. So why not try something else? And if that also doesn't work, then the other way wasn't working anyways. But always being willing to pivot and try new things to see until you can get to your ideal of whatever that is, whether it's sleep or working out or health or relationships or whatever it is. What would you say is the number one lesson you've learned about life?
I think it really is that I know me best, and that I have a say in what my life looks like. And there are bigger lessons about life in general, that we can accomplish anything we set our mind to. But for me, finding that power in my voice was huge.
When did you figure that out?
I go to, we got married in Grand Lake, Colorado, and we went together every year for our anniversary. And so he passed at the end of December, and we just had our anniversary. It was August 16th. So it was less than 8 months after losing him. And I was not okay. Like, I was still not okay, and everyone knew this. But I, for the first time, wanted to go to Grand Lake. I was like, desperately, this is important to me. I'm doing this. And here comes the ones who love and know me best. Are you sure that's a good idea? It's a long drive, just you in the mountains, curving along, and you've been pulling over every 3 minutes driving because you can't drive without crying. And what if the wedding venue makes you fall apart? All this loving coming from a loving place. But I was like, thank you. I'd listen, and then I'd be like, still, I have to go. I felt like I had to go. And so I went anyway, against that. And that was one of the only times in my life, very few times, that I don't care what the world thinks, but these people, they mean well. So I went anyway. And this is where I met someone who said, I was reading my Jack Canfield book, sitting under a tree, crying with Sassy. And somebody came up to me and said, are you part of the Jack Canfield community? And I said, the what? And she had a puppy. And so her puppy and Sassy played. It was the first time Sassy was showing any interest in life again.
Wow.
And so I spent the whole week with her and the puppy. I came back from that trip and said, I'm getting another dog, and I am working with Jack Canfield.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
And so just that. And so then that was able to make me say, remember that time I was going to do this? And Dad said, like, what would my life have looked like if I listened to that all along?
Yes. That's powerful.
So, and we all go through that. We all have that one person or certain people that we really do care what they think.
Yeah.
And so I thought they knew better than me. I didn't trust myself. I wasn't safe to drive. They're probably right.
Yeah. That's insane. How long ago was that?
That was 4 years ago. So I just wrote my blog recently about going back. So we went the next year, but Dallas was still a baby, and I only went for 1 day. So then COVID, this was my first trip back for a full week in 4 years. And being able to look at, I came here and I could barely get up from this tree with Sassy. And then looking at my life now, I was able to see progress that I don't look for. And when you're healing and you're looking at other people doing other things, the steps don't seem as big. But I drove there without having to pull over and cry. You know, like the change in how that trip went made me recognize it doesn't matter what pace we go, we get there. And all those little steps are huge, and I'm going to celebrate them. And
so Dallas, you got him as a baby.
yeah.
Wow. That must have been so cute.
And really, truly, the people who have watched, yeah. And Sassy, I mean, they are inseparable. I say they're each other's service dogs. Like, watching an animal heal an animal is beautiful.
That's so cool. When you think of success, what does success mean to you?
Success means now it means doing what I love, being who I am, living life my way.
Absolutely. You know, I want to talk more about the intro that I read about you, as far as, you know, you wanting to create a space where individuals who are going through their stuff can feel comfortable freely talking about it while they're going through it. And the reason I want to talk about this is because it's something that I think is so important, but I really haven't had the chance to sit down with somebody who is also, it's like in their mission, of doing that. And this is what I'm dealing with on my side. And I kind of want your viewpoint on this. So I want the same. The struggle that I'm having is, where is the boundary for someone being able to talk about what they're going through without over talking about what they're going through? Like, what does it look like to ideally speak about the stuff you're going through, but then not overwhelm people? Like, where's the line for them? Where's the line for the people listening?
I think for the people speaking,
Okay.
it's important to be true to ourselves, and even just being able to say, today's tough. Today is a tougher day. For the people listening, this is difficult. I get it. But if you are able, it's not our job to read your mind or know what's too much and too little. And so two different people asking us the same question might not enjoy the same answer. So we also need feedback from you to know, how deep can this conversation go? And for me, I think it's really important to know that you're with a safe person in a safe space to go deep. But I can tell everyone, I am not, it's information. It's letting people know I'm not having the best day today, but I'm here. And I think that's good for any conversation with anyone. I'm not going to tell them more, but if it's a safe person, I can go deeper. So there's responsibility on both ends. And I think biting your tongue because you think someone else is uncomfortable harms you.
Yeah. Do you have locations or recommendations for where individuals who are dealing with something tough can go to be able to speak? Because it's not always appropriate to be at your place of business, at the dentist's office, talking about all your drama. So is there any places that come to mind that you recommend for openness?
I'm trying to remember the date. Trying to remember if it was May 1st or June 1st. Recently, the National Suicide and Prevention Line was changed to 988. It's now a 3-digit code, 988. And it's not just suicide. It is, if you need help with anything, if you need help because you're worried that a loved one is just struggling, if you need help because you're struggling, if you want to find out where to go for eating disorder, I mean, you name it, any and everything. And so I have been preaching to my nieces 988, like, you need to know 911 and you need to know 988, because in life, we all go through it, but if we don't, we will know someone who is. And so if it's a teenager afraid to call their parents because they were drinking, like, it's my new mantra, and it's connected with skilled and trained professionals, and they will connect you with someone that can absolutely meet your individual needs.
Absolutely. Great advice. wouldn't have even thought of that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's new, and I want it to be known, because this is to get people comfortable just saying, help.
Exactly.
I don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. I don't need to go to a hospital, but I need to talk.
Yeah.
And letting them take over and do the rest. They will help you find whatever plan works for you. And yes, please share. There are so many things the world doesn't know about. The 30th is National Grief Awareness Day. And I have been running around promoting it, and people say, I didn't even know there was this day.
Yes.
Right? So that we don't know there's 988. We don't know there's the go to someone in your area that is in the field if you need it, because these services are not on commercials. They're not on billboards. You
Yeah.
can't find them if you're not looking.
Yeah, definitely. What does someone do to support National Grief Day?
My mission this year is for everyone to share a picture that it's National Grief Awareness Day, so that next year, maybe more people will know and there will be more events and things. Because I said to someone, as a teacher, I would want to know, let's open up the room to, do you want to bring in pictures of lost loved ones? Like, we don't even know what this day is designed to do or be, because people don't know what it is. So just mentioning it is doing something big.
Yes. Yeah, opening it up for 100 for conversations about past loved ones or any sort of loss. Could be a pet.
I just took stuff into my vets because that is the biggest loss in my opinion, and people don't know that there's support available and that you still deserve to get through it and deal with it. It's not a comparison to anybody else's loss. So I just want people to know that the world has it backwards. The world isn't helping us know how to deal with feelings or how to be there for those dealing with them. So it's not you making any mistakes. It's that we weren't taught this stuff.
Yeah. 100% we weren't taught it. Anywhere. Yeah. It's unfortunate. At what point do you think we're good enough?
I think we're always good enough. I lived my life feeling not good enough for so long. And if you can recognize whatever you think your weaknesses are, whatever you think those bad things are, those can be your biggest powers. And we have this self-judgment that gets in the way. And if we can understand ourselves and just know how to work with it, we are who we are. And that's absolutely enough.
What do you mean by our worst things can be our greatest power? What does that mean?
So how many people have depression or I have anxiety, mental illness? We're taught, oh, I'm sorry, that as if it's a bad thing. For years, I was trying to fix my anxiety, right? And that just made it worse. And the moment I started to embrace it and share it and own it and live with it and accept it as a part of me, it didn't have as much power. I still live with anxiety, but it doesn't control me that way anymore. So there are people, whether it's having a mole that you're embarrassed about or having a mental illness or a chronic illness, we all have these things that we think are negative. And I think that is in some way a blessing and a gift. We just have to figure it out.
Yes. There is always it's crazy. Sometimes I live in South Florida, and there's some beautiful people in South Florida. Don't come down here if you have low self-esteem.
Right.
It's but I talk to some of these people sometimes that are just, in my eyes, just so pretty. And they're not happy with themselves. Still, there's always something that or a few things that they're dissatisfied with, and stuff that you would never even guess. They say it, and then I'm like, what? Not even an issue. But it really helps, having those conversations really help me recognize oh, maybe the things that I'm self-conscious about, also nobody's really noticing, so it really gives a different dimension to that.
Yeah, I absolutely think most of us are our biggest critics. There might be some people out there that just really think highly of themselves and don't, but most of us have that inner voice. I'm too short, too tall. There's never a good way. And I mentioned that in the beginning with healing. People judged my taking time off and healing through nature and doing it that way. And my close friend did the opposite. She was out. She was on the go. She was keeping herself busy. She couldn't be in slowness or silence. That was too, and she had just as much judgment. So the world will always find something to say you're doing too much or too little of this. And that's why we have to say, you know what? Works for me. I could not have done it her way, and she couldn't have done it my way at all.
Yeah. So interesting. Thank you for that. What are the puzzle pieces in the back, by the way?
My logo is puzzle pieces in the shape of a heart. So my world shattered into a million pieces, and I put them back together. And so that became part of my that's what I do, because I think lots of people out there feel that way. Like everything's broken right now and it doesn't fit, and this piece doesn't have anywhere to go. And there are things I let go of, and I made a new shape, and I made a new puzzle.
What do you wish for?
So I always will say I can't have it, but I would give anything to have Jim back and have that life. In this moment, I really do wish for more people to know that I do want to change the way the world views grief and mental health. And I want people to know that they're not alone, and that they're okay exactly as they are, and that it's healthier to talk about it than hide it.
Are you doing anything like any special projects or anything you want to talk about as far as that arena?
I'm always doing Faces of Mental Illness is a book project where we are doing it like Jack Canfield and the Chicken Soup for the Souls book. So the first was general. This current one is for anxiety. And so if there are ever anybody that want to heal through writing and get your story out, it's not about us. This is about changing the way the world views mental health. So that's a big, big passion. And I am always doing things in my Grief Hab community, which is a place for you to heal any way you want and get support from people who walk it.
Where is that community at? Is it a Facebook?
That is on Facebook, yes. And I'm working on getting one on LinkedIn. I just don't know as much about the ins and outs, so it's taking it a little bit longer.
I heard that. I actually wrote that down in my planner a couple weeks ago, that someone had told me that LinkedIn has groups now. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And so think about what we do, right? What type of groups do you think there are on LinkedIn? It's much more professional. But I guarantee you, every single professional is dealing with something, has dealt with something, or has a friend or loved one. Not even grief, just so any type of group where we can support each other. I just don't know how we do that. So maybe we can do it together on LinkedIn.
Yes, we'll figure it out together. I agree. I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge those that are watching live. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us. For those of you that are throwing up little comments and whatnots here and there, we appreciate all of the commentary and the love. Thank you. For those of you watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so that we know where you are watching us and we can send you some love. But I want to ask Samantha a little bit more, or Sam, a little bit more about what you do. You know, SamanthaRuth.com. What do you do for all of the humans?
So I do more than just traditional coaching or counseling. I take everything else off of your plate. So we'll use grief as an example, whether that's getting the death certificates and helping with funeral arrangements and talking to employers and schools. There's so much more than talking to somebody that is involved when we're dealing with anything. So it's kind of like a concierge plus business for anyone struggling. And most of the time I had no idea people did that. And the reason I do it is because every single one of those things I mentioned knocked me down as soon as I felt like I was coming up for air. So I recognize that getting rid of that task can give you so much more room to focus on what you really need to be doing.
So do you kind of provide like a checklist of what they should do, or do you actually do it?
I do it with them, for them. In the beginning, if people are coming to me in early stages, even with, I just had somebody who had a trauma, had a car accident, a physical, and in the beginning, it was getting her stable, making sure everything medical was taken care of. And it could be finding a chef, not just creating a meal plan, but finding somebody that will do it and get it done. So you just open your refrigerator and eat, because those little things, changing a light bulb feels like the end of the world sometimes. So it is knowing that you can say, Sam, here, here, take this.
Where can people find you on social media?
Samantha Ruth. I'm everywhere. Some of them have a Samantha M. Ruth in the middle, but they're all connected. And if you find one, you find them all.
What are the big dreams for your business?
I hope, because this is not for me, because everyone will deal with grief at some point in time, I want this to go bigger so that there is a grief hab option for people everywhere. And I can train and help people know that we need more than people to talk to. We need help with the little things that tie us up along the way. So,
did you just say grief hab?
yeah.
What does that look like?
So I said to a friend, I need rehab for grief. And I wasn't kidding. And she said, you need to do something with that. Because there are rehabs for substance abuse, for eating disorders. There are places to go for everything else. So I'm a psychologist. I lost my husband. I have all the training and resources in the world, and I can't find the support and the help I need. So I created those things because I know somebody's going to be going along 3-4 months, and then they're going to get a letter that says, send me the death certificate, and they're going to go right back down. So that's,
wow.
It's rehab for grief.
Great idea. What does it look like?
It looks like you have an advocate. Even if it's just saying, Sam, my mom is driving me crazy and I'm not ready to answer the phone. Will you talk to her for me, please? It's knowing that you are not alone and that you can reach out anytime. An appointment once a week at noon doesn't work for people struggling. Problems happen outside of business hours. So It's giving people those things so that when you're healing, a lot of people feel like, I don't want to bother them. They're already doing so much. So it's knowing that you're not bothering me. You can send it all to me.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely. And why do you do what you do?
Because I know what it's like not to have that voice, and I don't want anyone walking along unable to use theirs. So I want to be people's voices until they find theirs.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing what you're doing, by the way?
It's approaching 25 years. I'm aging myself, but I really did. I started my internship in 1996 or 7.
No kidding. What was the draw? What drew you to it?
So I didn't want to go too long. I didn't know how much time we had. When I was on a field trip, I went to a small private school as a kid, and we went somewhere that there were kids from other schools. And my best friend got bullied, and I watched her unable to speak, unable to use her voice, not know what to do, and I was not having it. And I came home that day, I think I was 8, determined to do, like, that was not okay with me. And so I really, truly always knew I wanted to do something along these lines.
Wow. What was her name?
Heather Fambro, I love you.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it's one of Jim's favorite stories about me because, I came home upset. This story is about her, and she was traumatized, but I was a child, so I came home upset also, and I wanted to be Black. I didn't understand the differences between us. So, the 8-year-old's view of what had happened is, I wish how the world could look at it.
Yeah, the naivety, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. I have a school bus story of spitballs. My hair is curly. Spitballs being thrown in my hair, spit in my hair. And it's actually kind of a funny story, but not funny at the time, obviously. But I endured this for months, like 4 or 5 months, every day on the school bus. I would sit right behind the school bus driver. And these two girls would throw spit spitballs in my hair. And I get off the bus. I was the first person on the bus and the last person on the bus. So I had to literally, like, there was no way around it. But I would get off the bus and I had to flip my head open, I'd flip my hair over and I'd go like this to get all the spitballs to fall onto the sidewalk before I went home. It was disgusting having to like pull them out. And then one day, just a random day, I tell this story about how you have to save yourself. It's not always someone there to save you. You have to save yourself. So just one random day, I just had it. And I literally stood up. I was like the quietest person ever. I had no voice. And I just turned around and I was like, fucking stop it! Just screamed at one of the girls. Her name was Stacy. And they literally never bothered me ever again. Yeah. It was like, and then I never swore either, ever. Like I was a freshman or something in high school. I never said the F word.
Power of those moments. And that we carry them for so long, you know, and so I just know it still happens. And it's worse in today's world with social media. So yeah.
Definitely. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. I so love what you do. So necessary.
Thank you.
So necessary. Any of you watching who resonate with Sam and all the goodness that she's doing, make sure you check out her website, her social media, connect with her, send her a message, whatever you feel pulled to do. Do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
I just want everyone to know that in the darkest moments when you think it is not possible, you will get there. And I know you have no clue how, and it will happen. Just don't give up and reach out to that one safe person initially and don't go through it alone.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. For those of you still listening live, thank you for hanging out with us for the last 42 minutes. Those watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so that we know that you were here and you were hanging out. We can send you some love. The Her Version community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. If you have an amazing story to share, make sure you reach out to me. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others as